Hey, what's up, guys? Tim here with Ground to God, and I'm back in the Bible, and I'm in Job, and and most people know the story of Job, where Satan just throws all types of evil and discontent at Job. So Job's losing his fortune. People are dying in his life. He's really being tested, and he's being tested because God allows Satan to test him. He says, you can test him, just don't take him out. So, anyway, after being tested not once but twice, Job has these three friends, and he's basically, lamenting to them, like crying, and oh me, oh my, and, they're commiserating with him, basically. And, but Job really doesn't curse God, but he basically he's questioning. He's questioning God. So it's not like he just has this unbridled faith completely throughout. So there's Elihu, and Elihu is he's young. So Elihu rebukes Job. Elihu's young, but he listens the whole time because he's one of the younger ones. He doesn't feel empowered to speak up, but he basically burned with anger at Job because he justified himself rather than God. So he burned with anger also at Job's three friends because they had found no answer. And although they had declared Job to be in the wrong, now Elihu who waited to speak up to Job because they were older than he. And when Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these three men, he burned with anger. And Elihu then finally answered and said, I'm young in years, and you guys are aged. Therefore, I was timid and afraid to declare my opinion to you. And I said, let days speak, and many years teach wisdom. But it's the spirit of man and the breath of the Almighty that makes him understand. And it's not the old who are wise, nor the aged who understand what is right. Therefore, I say, listen to me. Let me also declare my opinion. I waited for your words. I listened to your wise sayings while you searched out what to say. I gave you my attention, and behold, there was none among you who refuted Job, who answered these words. So, Elihu, he did the right thing, but again, just because you're young and you're questioning your own wisdom doesn't mean you shouldn't then speak up. So he waited, he let everybody speak their piece, and then finally he just he started rebuking Job. So it's like, now hear me, O Job. I open my mouth and my tongue and my mouth speaks. And the words declare the uprightness of my heart. And what my lips know, they speak sincerely. And the Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. So he's like, I'm empowered by God. These words are coming from God. It's not just coming from me. So he's like, answer me if you can. Set the words in order before me and take your stand. Behold, I am towards God as you are, and I too was pinched off from a piece of clay. Behold, no fear of me need terrify you. So he's like basically saying, like, hey man, I'm no different than you. So I was pinched off like a piece of clay, just like you. So, but listen to me. And then he says, behold, in this you are not right. I will answer you, for God is greater than man. Why do you contend against him? He will not answer none of man's words, for God speaks in one way and in two, though man does not perceive it. And in a dream, in a vision of the night, when a deep sleep falls on the men, while they slumber on their bed, then he opens the ears of men and terrifies them with warnings, that he may turn man aside from his deed and conceal pride from a man. And he keeps back his soul from the pit, his life from perishing by the sword. So, Elihu's telling him, God is good, and because he knows you're prideful, he comes in the night and he shows you in visions and dreams. He shows you the truth. And he is merciful to him and says, deliver him from going down into the pit. I have found a ransom. Let his flesh become flesh with youth. Let him return to the days of his youthful vigor. Then man prays to God and he accepts him. When man's in the pit, then he prays to God, basically. He says, let his flesh then become flesh of the youth. Let him return his days to the youthful vigor. Then man prays to God and he accepts him. He sees his face with a shout of joy, and he restores to man his righteousness. He sings before men and says, I sinned and perverted what was right and it was not repaid to me. He has redeemed my soul from going down to the pit, and my life shall look upon the light. Behold, God does all these things twice, 3 times with a man, to bring his soul from the pit, that he may be lightened with the light of life. And pay attention, O Job, listen to me. Be silent, and I will speak. If you have any words, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify you. If not, listen to me. So Elihu asserts God's justice, and he says to Job, hear my words, you wise men, and give ear to me, you who know, for the ear tests words, and the palate tests food. As the palate tests food, let us choose what is right. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am right, and God has taken away my right. In spite of my right, I am counted a liar. My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. What man is like Job, who drinks up scoffing like water, who travels in company with evildoers and walks with wicked men? And he has said, it profits a man nothing that he should take delights in God. Therefore hear me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God that he should do wickedness, and from the Almighty that he should do wrong. For according to the work of man he will repay him, and according to his ways he will make it befall him. Of a truth, God will not do wickedly, and the Almighty will not pervert justice. If he should set his heart to it and gather to himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would return to dust. Like saying, Elihu's telling him, like, yo, Job, you think you're righteous, but you're not. You're wicked. You're hanging with wicked people. You're thinking you're doing things for profit. So it's pretty interesting. He's calling him out. The young buck calling Job out. Then the young buck talks to Job and he says, hear this, O Job. Stop and consider the wondrous works of God. Do you know how God lays his command upon them and causes the lightning of the cloud to shine? Do you know the balancing of the clouds, the wondrous works of him who is perfect in knowledge? You whose garments are hot when the earth is still because of the south wind, can you, like him, spread out the skies, hard as cast metal mirror? God is clothed with awesome majesty. The Almighty, we cannot find him. He is great in power, justice, and abundant righteousness. He will never violate. Therefore, men fear him. He does not regard any who are wise in their own conceit. And that's Job. And the Lord answers Job. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is that darkens counsel by the words without knowledge? Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? Or what on what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Man. Or who shut out the sea with doors when it burst out of the womb, when I made clouds its garment and the thick darkness its swaddling band, and prescribed limits for it and set bars and doors, and said, thus far shall you come and no farther, and here shall your proud waves be stayed? Have you commanded the morning since your days began, and caused the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the skirts of the earth, and the wicked shall be shaken out of it? It is changed like clay under the seal, and its features stand out like garment. For the wicked their light is withheld, and their uplifted arm is broken. Have you entered the springs of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Or have you seen the gates of depth darkness? Have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? Declare if you know all this. Like he's just totally calling Job out, like with his might, like God knows all. These are things we can't even fathom. Behold, God is exalted in his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has prescribed for him his way? Or who can say, you have done wrong? So Elihu completely proclaims God's majesty. You know, under the whole heavens he lets it go, and the lightning of the corners of the earth. And into his voice roars. He thunders with his majestic voice, and he does not restrain the lightning when the voice is heard. God thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things that we cannot comprehend. For to the snow, he says, fall on the earth. Likewise, to the downpour, his mighty downpour. He seals upon the hand of every man, that all men whom he made may know it. So Elihu, the young buck, completely has God's back, completely sees the truth, and he sees where Job is in his misery, and Job is condemning God and blaming God instead of lifting God up and knowing that God has his back and God will deliver him. All right, guys, this has been Tim with Ground to God. Breathe well and ground into God.